So today, our next step is going to be starting to visualize what the story is going to look like. And in order to be able to do this, we're going to go back to the resource that we used in week 2, in which we were developing the plot for your story. This is going to involve us going into a little bit more detail. All right, so you're going to need to go back to week 2. You're going to want to find the document that includes this particular slide. We're going to be using this as the foundation, and you're going to need to make sure that you're attaching this to your Google Classroom submission. So once you've done this, what I would like you to do is to make a copy. So if you select the file over in the left-hand side here, and you go to slide, you can select duplicate slide, right? And that's just going to make multiple copies. And this way you have your original plus one that you are going to be working with. Right? And as you can see here, I have my story kind of laid out. So I'm just going to delete this out so it's not duplicated anymore for a third time. And this is what I'm looking for in terms of the addition of your work. Hey, again, you'll notice that each section here is also color coded to correspond with what's happening in the story, whether it's the setting and establishing of the major conflict, to the rising action and climax, or the parts of the story that goes into the resolution. Just in case you're unaware, in order to create a text box, we're going to simply click on the text box, click and drag, and from here you are able to start typing in your responses. All right, and just as usual, you have your different formatting options up here. 14 point is a little bit large, right? So I'm recommending that we work somewhere closer to the 10 to 11 point size. Just makes it a little bit easier to get everything in. The other thing that I want you to be doing, right, is also making sure that the box corresponds. So over up at the side here, we have the fill, right, and we have our blue, we have our red, and we have our green, right? So when we click on one of these, right, it just fills in the background, making sure that we can then place it and drag it through. Right? Likewise, if I control click or right click on the box, I can then also make sure that I am copying, and then I can also paste. And again, I was just hitting control and clicking or right clicking to get the pop-up menu so that I have multiple dialog boxes. Okay, so now that we know how to go about actually creating these boxes and adding them in, what I'm going to do really quickly is just talk to you about the flow of ideas that are going through. So first of all, right, we know that we need to establish the setting, and kind of that includes the location, the time, right, and being aware that there's this kind of social conflict. So one thing that I'm recognizing now as I am looking through this a second time, this is part of the setting that I haven't actually included, and I need to make sure that I'm doing so. So perhaps I might make an additional note here that there is like maybe a radio on, right, listening to news report, right, of, let's say, of the social context. And I'm just going to adjust that so the text is easier to see. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the kind of a close-up on eyes, bleary. It's an early morning, right? So close-up goes to showing the main character, which is kind of autobiographical. So this would be me working at the computer, working really hard. Again, bleary-eyed, tired, showing the clock that it's very early in the morning. I'm the type of person that gets up before everybody else in my house so that I can sit down and focus, provide you with the best feedback that I can. Right? And then I might include multiple panels of the clock just to kind of show that passage of time, right? Typing on the keyboard, possibly going back and forth, and then showing a series of 3 panels with the rising sun. Right? And then eventually my son comes down the stairs, comes into the room, starts asking about playing a game, and I ask my son to wait, and then I'll show the clock again in order to create a sense of continuity. Right? So as it goes through, you get that pestering, right? And it builds, and Then, the very common "Dad, you promised" statement coming out of my son. The anger comes out, sending my son away, and seeing that my son may be going down the hall or heading to a different room, right? Communicating that sense of feeling horrible and kind of guilty about what I had said, and then go finding my son in order to apologize, and in the end being able to spend some quality time together. So this is sort of the overarching visualization of the narrative. These are the things that I need to be including in the graphic novelette that we're creating. Now, in some of these cases, you can see here that I've included words like close up, right? And these are helping in terms of thinking through the composition and the overall visual flow. Right, so these are some words that you will want to be including, and I've attached a Google Slides document as well with some of these compositional strategies that I will be looking for as well, right? And I'm going to be adding these in medium shot, right, which is showing most of the figure, and maybe making this an extreme close-up. Right, and I'm looking to create some visual variety here, right? I don't want to necessarily be putting the same, just using the same shot over and over and over, because in a way that just creates a lot of predictability, right? So then I'm just gonna make sure that I'm adding these in. I'm thinking about some of that variety, right, in order to start having an idea of what it is that needs to be illustrated for the thumbnails that we are going to be starting towards the end of this week, but finishing up next week. All right, so, right, basically, what are you going to be putting in each panel? Each of these boxes becomes an individual panel in your graphic novelette. So here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right, that's a lot of panels, and that would probably divide out into approximately 4 pages worth of imagery. Right, I'm looking for somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3. So ideally, you want to be thinking of a minimum of somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 12 boxes that you are going to add. I had a question from a student earlier saying, how many pictures do you have to have? There is no set absolute requirement. Your job is to make sure that you are telling the story as clearly as you can. So whatever number of images that requires, that's what you're going for. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you are reaching out via email. I'll be getting back to you as quickly as I can, especially during the day. And other than that, right, the sooner you can get this done, the sooner you can get feedback, the sooner that you are able to kind of continue to forge ahead, right? And then you're going to have that useful feedback in order to kind of help you out as you are continuing to progress throughout this learning activity. All the best. Can't wait to see what your stories are going to start looking like. And again, if you have any questions, make sure you're asking. Have a great day.